Hi, I'm going to go through how to do my hydrangeas step by step with this simple tutorial. Okay, I'm going to show you how I would approach hydrangea flowers step by step. Now I've drawn out a couple of flowers, this one primarily and then these two behind. I'm ignoring that one. Odds always work better than evens, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of a snapshot. Hydrangeas are a bit of a labour of love because you've got to do the individual petals, but I'm going to show you a technique how to get the background hydrangeas working. So, going to come on with some water. I'll talk you through my colours as I go. I'm using Saunders water cotton paper and I'm going to get it nice and wet. I am coming around the big hydrangea flower over everything else. So I'm going to get as close as I can to the hydrangea flower, but I'm not going to go in and out. I'm going to do that with my round number 10 as I come on. Checking I've got water everywhere. So nice clean brush, round number 10. Each of these colours are a pea-sized blob with half a teaspoon of water. I just get a bit of tester paper here, you can see as I go along. So this one is Gamboge yellow. You can use Gamboge yellow or you can use lemon yellow. I'm going to come on, start to get a little bit of a background in here. I tend to quite like a yellow because the hydrangeas are purple and you're getting a complementary colour to help make them pop out. So hence why I've gone yellow above and not just blue. So I'm coming around the hydrangea. You can mask all this out, but it's not really necessary. You can get away with just doing a little bit. You take a little bit of the yellow onto the distant hydrangeas, but not too much because you don't want them to end up looking muddy. I'll explain why as I go along. I'm just going to take a little bit of that yellow through here as well. So the next colour that I'm going to come on with is something called cobalt violet. This is opaque. It makes a beautiful colour. So I'm going to drop that in on those hydrangeas. Just let it run. You can see the granulation. Let it do its thing a little bit. Not going to take any more of that on. The next one is going to be a bit of permanent rose. So I'm just going to dab in. This is really into the background colours, and the reason that I'm doing this is to give a little bit of synergy and a bit of tone. So the red and the green, or the rose and the green, make really nice tone in the background. So I want to make sure that I'm getting this darker underneath here, this underside. Use a point of the brush to get in around those hydrangea flowers. Should stay nice and wet, this cotton paper, for a little while, unless you're in a very hot climate. Next colour I'm going to use is a bit of cobalt blue. So there's my cobalt blue. It's not quite mixed. That's going to work with the transparent yellow to start to make some greens. I like to just pop the colour on and let it run and do its own thing. take some of the blue in around here. I'm also going to dot, that's a bit much, some of the blue. I'm spreading that bit through each of those hydrangea heads. The last colour that I'm mixing here, again pea-sized blob with half a teaspoon of water, is a bit of sap green. What I'm going to try to do is hit some of the leaves with the sap green and some little bits a bit further on as well. So I'm starting to get some tone building up here. And get as close as I can to this hydrangea flower head. It's quite nice because this is going to help it pop out. So I'm using the point of the brush, just flicking out a little bit, so I'm getting some nice leaf shapes. These are going to be background leaves. Just pop through a little bit of that rose there. Okay, so I'm just going to look now. I've got a bit of a puddle here, so this is a damp brush. I'm just going to take that puddle off the edge. One there. So I'm just dabbing onto kitchen towel because I'm going to leave this to dry naturally. And then the trick for these distant hydrangeas is a little bit of cling film. So what I'm going to do, scrunch it into a hydrangea shape, pop it on, scrunch it and leave it. Again, I'm making a little bit of a circle. I don't want it to go on the rest of the painting, so I'm just trying to make it a hydrangea shape, scrunch it in and leave it to settle. So I'm going to leave that now to dry off. Okay, so whilst this is drying, I can't move this cling film whilst this is drying. I've got some neat cerulean blue. I've dabbed my round number 6 into water and then I've come into the cerulean blue. And what I'm going to do is just start dotting in the centres. If you can leave one side lighter, it does work better. So I'm doing like a little U or a C, just to not going all the way around on the bigger ones and then just dotting in on the ones that are behind. I'm going to leave this to dry before we come on to do the petals. Just means that you get a little bit of a highlight. The ones that are on the side, you don't have to worry about that, you can just dot them in. And the ones underneath the same. A little one here. Okay. I'm also going to use my round number 6. In fact, I'm going to pop it in a little bit of water in first, just in this middle section. I've got a section here that hasn't got much in it, and I need to pop a bit of background in. So I'm going to use a little bit of yellow. You get little glimpses of light through, and this works quite nicely. There's little glimpses of light. Just dab this in places. I'm going to leave that to work as a petal. Then dry my brush off after rinsing it. And we're just going to pop into a little bit of the sap green. So I've got some of that background colour coming through. I've still got some little bits that I've not filled in. I'm going to fill those in with a bit of cobalt violet. So you get like a little mixture happening. The cobalt violet, because it's opaque, will push the transparent away. So you get little glimpses of that yellow light coming through. Pop a bit of the cobalt violet up this way as well. So it's just basically where any bits of light are showing through or background are showing through. Pop a bit there. And a bit of the yellow. The best place to do it tends to be on the top section. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is a clean film reveal, and I'm ready with the hairdryer to blast. Because it won't be quite dry, you can leave it for a lot of time. I'm going to just peel the clean film off very carefully from one side and then blast. This one was nearly dry. I knew this one below was going to be a hard one. So basically, I'm trying to preserve the texture. And you see that? You've got this lovely texture and looseness happening. I'll retrieve the clean film. So at this stage now, you can look and think, actually, is there enough? Is that going to work as a background hydrangea? Do I want to pop a little bit more in? If you want to pop a little bit more in, I'll do it on one. I actually quite like both of these. But I will do it on one so you can see what to do. So I'm going to pop in some extra cobalt violet. So this is going on to dry now, but not everywhere. I'm using my round number 10. And then I want you to just take some shadow in with the cobalt blue. So we're using those same colours. Then you're going to use this clean film again and pop it back on. Just make sure you've got a clean side. Because it's dry everywhere, you can actually take it over the whole thing and then scrunch up so you get that nice texture again. I'm going to leave that one to dry. Okay, so I've peeled the clean film off and you can see that this has got an extra depth of texture in there now. So you've got one that's quite loose but a bit of texture, that one's got extra depth of texture, and this one's going to be our detailed one. So what we're going to do now is to start to come on to each petal. Now you have to do alternate petals to ensure that you get an edge. So there's a lot of petals here. So a little bit of water with my round number 6. A little bit of cobalt violet. You can leave a little bit of light if you want to. And then you're going to start to use some different colours in there. You might take a little bit of cobalt blue. You might take a little bit of rose. You're just going to blend them through. If you've got slightly too much water, just a damp brush and take a little bit off. You want these to stay really pale, so you've got to keep them quite fluid. So I'm going to do a couple more and then I'm going to fast forward if I can work out how to do it on editing, and you'll see the next bit move at speed because there's lots to do. But each time I finish one petal, I've got to make sure that it's dry before I move on to the next petal either side of it. So that's the important bit. I can use a little bit of cerulean blue in there. I can use a little bit of rose. So you get a variety of colours, and it's just dropping in different bits of colour. If you want to lift out light, then clean dry brush, lift a little bit of light out. You can lift that out. And do a few just straight with cobalt violet. So they don't always have to have water on. And what's also good is if you just add a little bit of yellow in places, so it's like they're catching the light. So I'm just filling some of them in with cobalt violet. These edge ones as well, the same. You can just fill them in with one colour. I did say it was a labour of love. Hydrangeas are beautiful. This is a bit of cerulean blue I'm taking in places now. But they are a little bit of a labour of love. Then you get, what happens is you think, oh, that one's wet, and you dot it in and it's not. Like that one there. So what I do with that is I've wet a wet brush and I wet it again, and then that bit dots in. I want to add any yellow to any. Just dot a little bit in. It's actually quite nice if you can pick up a few yellow ones in there. They're all different colours when you look. So it's quite nice to have an odd glimmer of yellow. You can always add a little bit of rose in. There's a bit of rose going in. A bit of the cerulean blue. So you're just basically picking up bits of light now with these ones. And you just start to fill in all the gaps. So this is just a wash of cobalt violet. Because you will get to a point you think, okay, I've had enough of doing petals. And then you can take a little bit of rose in. You're just filling in the gaps. A little bit of cerulean blue. If you've got some petals defined, then it just tends to work better to not have them all absolutely defined. Just build together a little bit better. That's another little bit of rose in there. A little bit of cerulean blue. I'll just put a bit of cerulean blue on these paler ones here. Just little bits. Okay, so if I come back to this size, you can see that better now. Move that up. So it's working really nicely. I'm going to dry that off. Okay, so that's nicely dried, and I have got a dab of Winsor Violet or Dioxazine Purple if you're on student quality. And what I'm going to do now is start to just pull out some little bits where it might be a bit darker. So these little bits in the depths of the petals are going to pull it all together. It is random dabs. Basically, if you can see a bit of white and you want to change it to dark, then that's when you use a random dab of purple. These random dabs will give it depth, and it will all just start to hold together better. And purple's a great colour because it just goes really well with the hydrangea. It helps to have a few darker bits towards the bottom, a few more darker bits than towards the top. So you're just filling in some of those areas of white. Then with a clean wet brush, I just want you to touch a couple, just so they're not all hard. So I'm just touching the bottom edge of these ones underneath and just working it around the petals, so around the petal edge. It's just giving you a little bit more shadow and definition. You don't want every little bit to be hard shadow, so this just helps to soften that in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry. So I'm going to come in and do the stems. So for that I'm going to use the sap green. I've simplified these stems as well. You can put in as many stems and leaves as you like. I've decided less is more. Got a leaf here, so I'm going to follow that stem that way, and a leaf there. Might just bring a bit of a stem there. Whilst I've still got the green, I'm dipping into the purple, and I'm going to run that on that bottom edge of the green. So I want a little bit of shadow, and whilst it's still wet, it's going to give a nice cylindrical feel. So you're just going to do the underside. Because that's where the shadow would be. And we're stopping at the leaves and we're stopping at the hydrangea heads. So at the heads, you're just going to dab a little bit of water there on those two so it settles in. I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so we're going to start on the leaves, and I'm going to use a round number 6 to do them. So I want a little bit more of a base in here. So I'm going to use a little bit of the Gamboge yellow and a little bit of the sap green. So you're wetting each leaf. They're already green, so we don't need a huge amount in here. You need enough for it to stand forward from what you've done before. I'm going to use a little bit of sap green on this one. You see I'm preserving the light on that side, and I'm also going to use a little bit of cobalt blue. In fact, I might even touch into a tiny bit of violet so that I've got a really nice shadow on that leaf. Okay, so where you've got an underside of a leaf, like this one, I'm going to paint one side, let it dry, then I'll paint that side. The same principle applies, that you've got to let each one dry when they're next to one another before you can come in. So I'm just taking a bit of yellow on and a bit of sap green. Don't need a huge amount of water. This is just to get a little bit of a base going. You can use the tip of the brush on some of these bigger leaves to get that nice edge. So use a downward tip, and that gives you that nice edge to a leaf. Some of the littler leaves you can get away with just popping a little bit of yellow on, so you've got a base there. With all of these things, I'll keep saying the same thing, which is less is more. You don't want a huge amount on. This is just giving each of these leaves a nice base. I've got one here. Can have a little one underneath here. One here. So we're just popping those on with a bit of the yellow. I've got an overlapping one here, so this needs to go in. This one's got a bit of a stem, so that's coming that way. Just mix up a little bit of green. I'm nearly there. So this one is the underside of this leaf that we're doing now, so it needs to be darker. Take a bit of the blue on to help that look darker underneath. You can see how it's all starting to come together. Use a little bit of blue on this one as well because it's a bit too pale. So I've got a really nice base there, so I'll dry that off now. Okay, so that's nicely dry. Now I'm going to give you a little tip on how to do the veins. So I want a green, I want a darker green, so I'm going to use some of the cobalt blue. What I do is I run down the centre, run down the sides, run down that side, rinse my brush dampen it so it's damp, and then I'm going to run that along the underside of the vein, so you get a really nice soft effect. So I'll do that again. So I'm going to run it down, run it down, down. In fact, on these two I'm only going to do one side. I might do that side there, but I'm not going to do that side. I'm going to run that just the centre vein, that just the centre vein. Rinse my brush, dab it off so it's not too wet. I'm going to catch one side there. I'm going to catch the underside of each of these veins. As long as you do the same side, it works. And they soften in to be part of the leaf and excellent veins. So these two here, you don't need to have all the detail on every single leaf. So if I come down here, I'm super quick at this. You're following the shape of the leaf. Wet my brush, rinse it off, dab it off on my hand, come down one side, come down one side, come down one side. So when you're doing these, when you're doing them for the first time, make sure you do one leaf at a time. It's only because I know I can do this quickly that I've got time to do it. And you must make sure you dab some of the water off the brush, because if it's too wet it'll just watermark your leaf. But I'm just touching that underside. This one now I'm going to take a little bit more underneath here and down. I'm just going to wet that, and I'm also going to take a tiny bit of the purple in so it really gives it a nice shadow where it's folded over. I'm going to use some of that leftover green to make sure that I've got all the stems coming somewhere that need to be. And I've got this underside here, I mean overside, it's the high side, so this is when it gets you, when you're thinking, am I doing the right side? Soften that in, because that would fold over there and go that way. Okay, so with some of the leftover green, you can bring through a few more stemmy bits. It tends to be quite dense, so this just gives it an extra bit of depth. So if you just think stems growing out, but you want them to end somewhere, you don't want them to end in the middle of nowhere. So just sort of crisscross them as if they were going behind the plants. When you've got a lot of leaves, it sort of covers that up a bit. I'm not going too strong. In fact, I'm going to bring a bit up here. So it's just focusing this corner to having this depth in here. And it coming through. And then I'm going to do the same with a little bit of a mix of the cerulean blue and the purple. So again, I don't want it to be too strong. I'm just going to bring a few bits through. So if I'm sort of heading them out, over and out. Like that. So I'm just going to keep coming through. Just creating that additional depth. And the purple's really nice to do that. You just don't want it too strong. If you've got really dense overgrowth, then you can go really strong, but this is just enough to hold it all together and give it a bit of a glow from underneath. Okay, I'll pop a mount on for you. So there we are, it's all finished. It's just giving you a snapshot into how I would do my hydrangeas. Obviously when I'm doing a full picture I'm taking a lot longer to do them, and I tend to space it out over days and days. It's a really lovely subject to do. It's quite therapeutic and relaxing once you get into doing the petals. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like, subscribe and share. I'll pop you another video just here and I'll see you next time.